have our next panel ready with us. I can already see the next panel there. All right, so let me talk about the rules for engagement millennials. I have in my esteemed panel, Kritika. We welcome you. Kritika is a specialist in adult and marital counseling. Her therapeutic work involves helping the client understand their core beliefs and negative cognitive distortions. She has worked with couples involving help them to understand their dysfunctional patterns and taught them effective strategies to work on their relationship. She believes in making her sessions insightful and fun, which helps her clients to get in touch with their deep-rooted beliefs and work on it. She is India's only leading millennial marriage coach, author of Detox Your Marriage, and she's dedicated over 600 hours to listen to stories of individuals and has conducted 150 plus seminars and webinars, addressed over 4,000 couples in her 25 plus years of experience with a clear focus, positive attitude, practical approach, and experience. We welcome you.
Thank you, Celine.
We have next with us Sonal, who's passionate about every aspect of communication, including silence. She believes that communication is the bridge between people, literally connecting them with each other. And that is what makes communication the most essential part of resolving conflicts or differences. She supports people navigate through conflicts, be it their relationships, families, or workplace. By training, Sonal is a researcher in social sciences, has worked with United Nations universities, research agencies, and NGOs from India and other parts of the world. We also have with us Lina, whose intro I could just merge with Kritika. Lina is the author of the Detox Your Marriage and has dedicated over 600 hours to listening the story of individuals. With her 25 years plus experience, she has a clear focus on positive attitude, practical approach, and experience. She also helps millennial premarital engaged couples and designed a structured approach towards the special relationship building so that they can live their lives happily ever after. We welcome you, Lina. Panelists,
thanks, Varun. Thanks, Varun. Yeah.
Panelists, can you please have our videos on? Thank you so very much.
Hi, Swelling. Thanks.
The host has stopped my video. I won't be able to start that.
All right. Okay. That's fine. That's all right. Okay. So, well,
that's the same thing with me as well. So I think I can't start.
Okay, all right. All right, Kritika, I just want to know from you, during the pandemic, what kind of relationship issues have cropped up for millennial couples?
Okay, thank you so much for the introduction, Sverleen. So a couple of issues that I saw during the pandemic while I was working with couples was, of course, there was a lot of stress that was involved because of, the work-related, the work-life stress. They were overworking because they wanted to keep their jobs going. The daily diseases, the daily news stress that they were having was definitely another aspect added to it. And to add to that, there was no distraction. Like they couldn't go meet friends, couldn't go to the gym, couldn't go for workouts, walks. So all the frustration and anxiety would come out on the partner because that was the only source of, releasing their anger or frustration. Again, another thing was boredom. A lot of couples, generally people go on holidays or vacations and they're spending some time with their partner. This was a forced lockdown where, you're forced to be with your partner. And that created a lot of anxiety, that created a lot of frustration for people because you were constantly at home when it was not required. So there was no other human interaction. You were just meeting very few people. So that led to a lot of boredom and, couples would argue for very, very silly reasons. And that would create, again, so much of anxiety and disharmony between the couples. Another area that I saw was, the social media. That was fubbing is one of the techniques that, a thing that they would use, where they would sit and be texting while your partner is communicating. And when you're on social media, you're constantly looking at other people, comparing your relationship with others, even if you're happy, even if you've done something really nice with your partner, you're constantly going to be upset about what the other person has done because you're seeing something else on social media. And that would lead to so much of dissatisfaction, marital discord, silly arguments, feeling like a constant dissatisfaction of feeling that I'm not, whatever I do, my relationship is a failure. So that was such a big aspect in, contributing towards the issues that couples were facing. Also FOMO, I need to do this. Another couple is doing this. How can I not do this? I need to constantly be available via text. Even if I am talking to my partner, having a good time with my partner, I still want to be online, and I still want to like interact with my friends. So not living the moment in which you are happily. And then another thing was a lack of alone time. So for a lot of people, unfortunately, of course, the children and parents and everybody were home. So with the parental influence in the house, because, everybody was worried about their parents' health, parents would come over, and that would increase, firstly, the burden for a lot of people, because their work, without the maids, without the help, their work had increased, and then no support, and parental interference becomes again a very, very big aspect, where like parents are unnecessarily taking sides or creating issues, so unwantedly. But it became like that was a very big area where couples started again facing a lot of difficulties with each other, and their differences led to irreconcilable differences for them. Then the mental health issues were on a rise. So there have been lots of substance abuse disorders, lots of recreational substances people have been taking, recreational drugs, and substance abuse, alcohol intake, anxiety, depression, generalized anxiety, paranoia. All of this had increased and is still increasing. And because of this, a lot of couples are facing, a lot of difficulties where partners are not able to empathize with each other. So, you're again feeling a lack of support from your partner. So, and then you end up feeling low, you end up feeling like, why am I in this relationship? It's not worth it. Sort of a thing. Again, another thing is lost in translation. So partners everybody is interested in proving that, I am right. Nobody is interested in working towards the relationship. The goal and then you remove like Stone Age related issues, and then you're going to argue on that. And one thing is definitely leading to another, and then it just creates a havoc in their life. There's no understanding. You don't want to understand each other's perspective, just blaming and proving yourself right, screaming, and there is like name calling and getting on to your like hurting each other emotionally just to prove your point. So there is no solution focused approach. It's always just I need to be proven right. That's it. So that again has made couples so bitter. That is like people are just they do not want to take things lightly. There is no fun, there is no humor, there is no like everything is it's a war zone. So for couples, so that is again creating a lot of difficulties in relationships. Then again, like because these days the social media is again impacting so much, people are constantly in the search of, is there someone better for me? Is there someone better? Do you think I'm settling for a easier partner? Do you think there is a better choice and I'm just struggling with this relationship? So instead of focusing on what I can do to make things right, my focus is on I'm going to let me start looking for someone better. So that is again detrimental to relationships. And this is especially happening it's extremely prevalent in the millennials. And again, lack of patience, infidelity has increased. Like people have started with casual flirting, like we try to say we are woke, and or I'm very chilled out, and in the bargain of being chilled out, you start with casual flirting, which then leads to full-blown affairs, not only physical affairs but like emotional affairs. Emotional cheating is even worse these days. So that is increasing to such a level, such a high intensity, that partners are not able to give that time anyway because of this extremely stressful situation of work at home. You're not able to spend time, and then emotionally cheating on your partner, you're completely ruining the relationship. And even though we feel it's harmless, it's completely gone down in the dumps. Then there is a lot of impulsiveness which I've seen in couples, that they want to take very quick decisions. Right now, I want this to happen. Right now, it's not working out. You move out of the house. We will not take a day. We will not sit over it, think, analyze what's happening, and you immediately take quick steps, decisions, and that is again bringing a ruin to the relationships. So these are a few issues that I have noticed, in couples, which is leading to so many difficulties. And, it's just on an increase in the pandemic. I wouldn't say that these issues did not persist earlier, but the intensity of this has become much more because we've been forced to be together. And that is something which, couples are finding difficult to cope and adjust with. So, yeah, these are the concerns and the issues that I have felt.
So well addressed, Kritika. That is wonderful, hearing from you. And I personally think that there have been people who've been coming up to the, our offices, and, when they come up for sessions, the first question is, the first thing that comes is, he's wrong and she's wrong. So that's a kind of, atmosphere as when the initial session happens at the office. And so it becomes like, just the first thing I think is, cooling them down is like being little empathetic about their needs rather than pointing towards each other. So very well explained. And I think people will have really got a very nice ideas about how they can actually make it. Thank you. Thank you so very much. Well, my next question is to Leena ma'am. I would definitely like to know from you. That's a question I think many people are there looking at the answers for this again. Do you think problems have amplified, or people have worked on resolving issues due to this constraint of work from home? And what can couples, especially those with the children, do to resolve these conflicts?
Thanks a lot for this wonderful question, So, Arlene. Let me answer the first one. So, have the problems got amplified? Yes, they are. So, this has happened for the very first time that after the honeymoon, the couples are staying together 24/7. This has happened for the very first time after the honeymoon. So now the problem is the couples are facing the lack of breathing space. Suddenly, when they were trying to spend long hours in the offices just to avoid the fights or the frictions or the arguments, now they are compelled to be under one roof. And that's how work from home concept started last year onwards. What happened is it's a blessing in disguise that most of the millennial wives came across and took the initiative, approached me and all that. But yes, most of them have taken the option or selected the option to take the divorce, to go for the separation. As it is not working out, as Kritika rightly said, is the instant decision. The options are available in the, I'm so sorry to call it as a market, but yes, they are perceiving it as a market. So options are available, emotional, and in the virtual world, they have built those emotional connects, and that's how they feel this temporary effect is the permanent one, and that's how they have chosen divorce as a default option. I'm talking about some of them. But some of them had also approached and also showed the courage to take the initiative to resolve the matter, to resolve the issues. Those were minor, major. There was the problem of nuclear family as well as the joint family. When it is a joint family, as one of the partners, especially husbands, in the nuclear family, most of the millennial husbands were just searching a corner in their own home, to be in their own space. The wives could not, because yes, they are multitaskers and women are multitaskers. They had to take the responsibility, and they couldn't, and there was a friction between them. But in the joint family, even the girls, even the wives, millennial wives, also could take out their space by searching one corner of the home, because their parents-in-law were able to take the control or maybe able to support them, especially mother-in-laws whom they used to complain. Now these mother-in-laws have also helped them. That is also seen. Parental interference, somehow the guidance has turned, there is a thin line between the guidance and interference. But yes, it has happened. Maybe you can call it as over possessiveness, love, affection, whatever. But yes, there are these frictions are happening in a couple because of this. And this had a great impact on the children. My question here is, like, before entering the parenting,
I think there is some glitch.
how could they enter the second project? Before completing the first project, how could they enter the second project? Okay, whatever has happened now. They have entered the second project, and the children are getting the impact. Now, children are somewhere, they are becoming vulnerable, they are having more anxiety, they are becoming aggressive, they are also insulting, being blunt. Some of them are, they remain silent, but they are not calm. They remain silent. They feel lonely. And somehow they search the social media as a helping hand. And somehow they try to be, in their virtual world. They are happy in that. My question here is, like, before entering this, if we have done that, now it is the right time, like today onwards also, you can start resolving those issues. And that's how the answer to the second question comes. Is there any solution to this? Okay, whatever has happened has happened. There are frictions, minor, major. We don't have the space. Our secrecy is revealed. Everything has come out. There are the problems. But does any one of the partners want to show the courage and take the initiative? These are the three steps which I'm going to share right now, is for them. They can resonate and they can start taking the action. The first one is the communication. So, Swarleen, everybody says be transparent enough, be open enough. I won't say that. Please don't do that. Already you are in a frictional zone. Being transparent, I'm not telling you to hide the secret. I'm just telling you this is not the right time to reveal everything. Let's be calm, quiet, and start the effective communication. Watch your words, what you speak, what not to speak, how you speak, how not to speak, and when to speak and when not to speak has a great impact on your partner, because you are giving that sense of security and sense of, as a teamwork, you're there with him or her. That is very important. Already you have heard because of this. Every marriage, every millennial marriage, now I would say, being the millennial marriage coach, has a particular language. The partners have two different languages. We need to understand, rather than I love you, it's being selfish. You need to understand your partner's language and start building the connection slowly, steadily. Mark my words, your partner will start following you. Your partner, you can make your partner realize his or her mistake. That's very important. But before building the connection, you won't be, if you start forcing that and directly you will start approaching, it doesn't work that way. So the first point comes as communication, and that too effective communication. Watch your words unintentionally, but the words hurt. The second point will come as appreciate. Appreciate little thing. Till today, till today, 1:30 p.m., whatever has happened, are you ready to just keep it aside and start working freshly? That's what my question is. He was your first choice and you were his first choice. So start appreciating maybe little thing. Don't exaggerate. I'm not telling you to, at the cost of your self-respect and you have to compromise. Definitely not. So that's how the appreciation will work. And the third one is add pinch of humor. You have made, in simplifying the problem, you're complicating the things. Marriage is not, definitely not a difficult thing. Come on. You have made, and it is not your life. It's a part of your life. So why are we making it, complicated? Why are we making it so serious about it? Just add pinch of humor every day. Consciously. It's not about commenting on your partner's weaknesses. It's about creating that happiness. It is very, very important. And over the period of time, in this last 1 hour, 1 year, 1.5 years, instead of creating the oxytocin, it requires a simple gesture of sitting beside your partner and holding his hand, or maybe resting your shoulder on his back, resting your head on his shoulder. It requires a simple act. It doesn't require a very huge responsibility, or creating a mole out of mountain out of it. There is no point in that. We are just building we are in the same relationship, so we need to work as a team. That's what I feel. So instead of releasing that oxytocin, have we created the cortisol, a stress hormone, unnecessary, by overthinking? Let us forget everything. Not forget, sorry, forgetting is difficult. Let us forgive everything and practically start working on this. Use your words, appreciate, and start that adding pinch of humor. I feel that these three things, if you start implementing, it's not a philosophy. I have worked in my marriage, definitely it has worked, and it has also worked in my, clients' marriages also, in their relationships. So I'm sure it will help you. You can resonate that and you can start implementing it. Your life will be and marriage will be super, super, super enjoyable journey. That's all. Thank you.
Lovely. It was a wonderful takeaway. Live your life and let others live too, and live it together. If I put it all together, it is, you have your individuality, you have that personal relationship, you are there for each other, and then you are there for each other as well. How do you maintain that? Definitely communication plays a great role, and that has been so well explained by you, ma'am. Lovely. We really love the insights that you've given us. Thank you. Next on my panel, I have Sonal Seth, and I'm going to ask you, what do you feel is the best way to resolve conflicts without getting into confrontation, whether it is inside the four walls of our homes or it is outside at work?
Hi, Swarleen. Thanks for the question. I can see the desperation to get out of conflict in that question, right? So also, hello to everyone who's listening to us patiently. So taking from, the question, Swarleen, why is it that we want to get out of confrontations? I'm starting from the basic first. Because somewhere it evokes a lot of difficult emotions, right? Anger, frustration, fear, experiencing low, and none of us want those emotions, and there is a response inside to stop whatever's happening and get into a peaceful zone. Okay. So I want to talk about this at two levels. One is the mindset, and one is what is it that we can do as actions or as real tools, So like, Kritika and Leena pointed out very beautifully in detailed manner that we are spending a lot of time indoors, including the conflicts with colleagues, which were otherwise happening in a different physical space, is now happening while you are in the same home space. So the space where you are locked in is so loaded with all your conflicts, in the family, the workplace conflicts. And you have very little window in that sense to experience different space also. Earlier, otherwise, even while you are going from, your home to your workplace, there's some window that's available to you, that you are slipping into physically a different space, you are traveling, which is not happening. So I think that's one area where what we do with our minds becomes very, very important, because that's the biggest resource that we have, with our ability to move around. Obviously, now it's a little better. Hopefully, third wave doesn't strike us, with that sort of intensity. So let me start with the mindset aspect that I would want to bring up. Here's a good news and a bad news. Okay. So let me give the bad news first and reserve the good news for later. Conflicts are here to stay. They are here to stay till the last breath of your life. Okay. In every area of your life. And where do they come from? They come from basically two people having two different ways of looking at something, right? So as long as people remain and different ways of thinking remain, conflicts are going to be there. So that's the bad news. Okay, we all want to learn resolving conflicts, but we are not going to see in our lifetime where there is not going to be conflict ever. Having said that, the good news is there is enough mental work possible which we can apply, and we can, like we exercise and build our muscles, we can build our muscles to navigate through the conflict, right? And that's a wonderful learning that's available and possible right now, even when I am dealing with families. When they switch to that first understanding that conflicts are here to stay, but I can make a choice to sit and have a conversation. So going back to the question again, can we make a choice to move from confrontation to conversation? Okay. And when we have that mindset, as a family, you are prepared that, okay, a conflict has cropped up, we can sit and converse. Okay. Now at your workplace, that may not be very easily possible, right? So I'm just going to share a couple of tools that are very helpful in any conflict resolution conversations. So first is essential to communication. Now you all may have heard this theoretically that listening is a very essential part. We all think and we like to think that we listen, but also we think the other person doesn't listen and they think you don't listen, right? So creating a space. Now this is something I do with my family, in my own family, with my friends, colleagues, as well as what I suggest to people. One is carving out time and space to have the conversation when conflict has arisen. Okay. Admitting that, yes, there is something we need to address. Let's sit and address it now. Okay. So carving out time apart from your work, apart from your, domestic chores, to sit and specifically have this conversation is very, very important. When you have conversations, it's extremely important to allow the person who's speaking to complete before you respond or react. So a simple rule: one person, one voice at a time, is something that I recommend to everyone. It's a very simple pill. It appears to be too simplistic that people think it's not fancy enough. It's something that we've heard, but it works magic when you actually practice it. That when someone's speaking, allow them to complete, check with them, are you complete? And then share whatever you have to share. This works magically well in workplaces as well. Okay. In families, you can even establish an agreement that one person speaks at a time. At your workplace, probably it's not very comfortable to say that to your colleagues. But when you begin to listen, the energy shifts. They begin to get it that you are here to listen, and their intensity also slowly begins to drop down. Okay. And then when it's your turn, it's more natural that they want to allow you to listen, because they know, again, when it's their turn, you are going to be listening to them. And there's no hurry to make their point. There's no hurry to, on your side, to make your point and be done. So that's one. And the other tool which one can practice, especially in families, is once you've heard someone out, share with them what is it that you heard. Okay. So what is it that you understood in their perspective? Like, I just had a conflict before coming to this meeting in the morning, wherein my mother-in-law is admitted in a hospital. My husband wanted her to have some home cooked food, and I was thinking, we are ordering food from someone who's cooking at home, so why enter, preparing that again. And once I heard him, I said, okay, I understood you do not want to take chances. Okay. So when you fully listen, and when you are able to say that this is what I heard is your need, it's equally more likely that the other person starts listening to your need. And when that happens, the resolution starts coming in more simply and more easily. So I'll just wrap it again with what I said. Let's move from confrontation to conversation. The key difference being, when we are in a confrontational mode, we've already created in our minds that one person is right, another is wrong. This is a better way to go. That's not so good. And in conversation, we are more open. We are more open to a new possibility arising. We are more open to listening to each other and connecting rather than confronting. So yeah, I hope this helps. These are practicable tools that have helped me a big deal, and people that I'm consulting also a big deal. Thank you.
It has been wonderful listening to you. And definitely, I think with all the three panelists here, Kritika, Leena, and Sonal, people must have benefited. What I am taking back home is, please listen to each other. First listen and then speak. Let the other person get to his thing, and then, you can respond. It is what we actually do, jumping into the, maybe sometimes just the conclusion without actually knowing what reasoning could have prevented us from getting into an immediate conclusion, which is not required at every time. That decision-making skill has to be sharp, wherein you've got to see the pros and the cons, where you've got to see the goods and the bads. It is a relationship. Every person will have a good and a bad. We do have it. So we need to accept it also. If we start to be empathetic with each other, if we start to understand each other better, I think these resolutions can be better taken up with the time. And definitely we can resolve certain matters in a very lightest of the tone and manner. Thank you so very much, Leena, Kritika, and Sonal, for being here with us this afternoon. It's been a really wonderful session with you all three. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Swati. Thank you. And thanks all the viewers.
Thank you.